Gordon, happy Chinese New Year. It's the 15th day of celebration. What will you be doing?
It is indeed the 15th day. Well, this year's quite unusual, or maybe it's not unusual. To this year, the 15th day just falls on a working day. Tonight, we're just not going to have too much of a gathering, basically, because we've done that over the weekend. But typically, we'll gather around a hot pot, have a family gathering, and we'll have chats, family
Yeah.
chats.
Okay, Gordon, let me ask you a quick question. This is me asking as a naive person, even though I'm Chinese. Why 15 days? Why is it so long?
Oh, I'm guessing it's because a lunar month is about somewhere 28 to 30 days. And actually, the 15th day coincides with the full moon. And so I suppose it's a great time to celebrate a full moon since the new year starts with a new moon. So I
Yeah.
guess that's how it comes about.
And Gordon, this year is the year of the
Horse.
horse. Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
i-
it's
i- do you follow it enough to know what the year of the horse means?
No, actually, and it's more complicated than that because there are five elements, and so it goes through a cycle of 60 years, and there are different kinds of horses, five different kinds of horses, depending on the five elements, and there are 12, obviously Chinese zodiac signs.
Oh,
A horse, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, Gordon, as you and I are chatting, I am literally just landing after 3 weeks of being gone. I was in Seattle, Austin, Orlando, and I just got back from Cairo yesterday late afternoon. Uh, I was hoping that my plane was not going to be delayed with everything that's happening in the Middle East right now, but I was able to get
Yes.
back, and here I am trying to get used to everything again.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're in Cairo and not somewhere else because otherwise you'll be really stuck.
Gordon, have you ever been to the pyramids of Cairo?
No, that's something that's on my bucket list actually.
Gordon,
See the Sphinx, the pyramids, and that's about it.
as I'm sitting here right now, my legs are in so much pain. Why,
Oh,
would you ask? We literally went to the pyramids and you get to go inside the pyramids. So we
all right.
got in, and the first quarter of it, you're walking, it's a little tight, but you're going. And suddenly, as you go up, there's no more stairs. It's a plank of wood that is just goes up, and you have to climb it. And
Oh
the
my
area
God.
gets slower and smaller and smaller. And now you're crouching as you're climbing up.
Oh, it's
It
like
was
crawling.
painful. It was painful. It is hot. It's humid. And the worst is when you go up, people are coming down. So literally, it's not like you're literally crunched down as people are coming up and you're trying to do all these things.
Oh my goodness. I think I'll skip that for a while.
Gordon, I mean, it is amazing to see the Great Pyramid, but it was not fun. I just did not enjoy it at all.
Yeah, you sent me some photos, and it kind of reminds me of the Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
But the Great Sphinx, it was amazing. It was
Hmm.
amazing. So I was so glad that I went there just to see that because it was well worth it just to see the wonderful Sphinx that just the wonderful thing it showed.
Right, great, great. Oh well. So you've gone to one very interesting historical site. I'm looking forward to going to another historical site, which is in China. It's a place called Xi'an, and that's
Yeah.
where the terracotta warriors are.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I know a lot of times I've seen it in museums as well too. And so over there, is that a big museum where they keep all of it?
I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'll tell you
Yeah.
when I get back.
Got it. Very, very good. Well, today we're going to talk about this article that you share with me is when being the most reliable leader becomes a liability. When being the most reliable leader becomes a liability. Talk to me about this article. Why did you pick this article?
Okay. So we've been in different organizations, in different phases of organizations, and inevitably there will come a point when a leader one particular leader can become a hindrance to the organization because they're the most reliable, they're the most efficient, they're the most trustworthy, I guess, and that's when I think the organization or the gets into a trap that if it doesn't get out of it properly, it really could harm the organization.
Yeah, I love what this article says is when over reliance on competent leaders may keep an organization afloat, but it hinders its ability to adapt. Stability bought this way comes at a cost. It erodes strategic capacity, concentrates political risk, and quietly narrows how the leader is seen. Often, CEOs and boards aren't even aware this over reliance is happening. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this could be a very reliable COO, for example, or a CFO, or maybe if someone even lower down than that. Say, for example, who's a really good person who runs a production line, and if there's an over reliance on that person, then yeah, imagine it's a huge organizational risk, right?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a quick question personally for you. Did you ever experience that? Did you ever work for a boss where, or a leader where they were so good, or maybe a lot of times you were CEO and you just relied so much on one team member that just carried everything?
So I've been on both sides of this thing. Sometimes I run the danger of being the over reliant leader, and sometimes I rely too much on a particular leader, and that's bad for the organization because the organization gets trapped by this the leader's capacity.
Yeah, yeah. But yet at the same time, I understand the temptation. Why? If you're the leader of a team, there may be an all-star that just shines away, that works well with you, that's in sync with you. And so you just keep giving more and more stuff. And you just know that person is able to do it. Or a lot of times is you may be working for a leader that everyone, the whole company depends on because they're just so competent.
Yeah, no, so sometimes it's not something that the leader chooses to do. It's something that the circumstances forces the leader to happen to pick that role because yeah, it's interesting.
And the temptation is, I totally understand. They know we're relying too much on this leader, but they do the job so well, we're willing to risk it.
Yes, and from that person's point of view, I'm going like, okay, everyone needs me, so I better do
Yeah.
something. And, so he could come because he feels threatened otherwise, or the person just sees the problems and just wants to fix everything.
Yeah. Over time, reliable executives get pulled into three roles: buffer, fixer, translator. Let's you and I talk through all of those things. Let's begin with buffer.
Yeah, so buffer happens mostly during transitions. Say an organization loses a team, and there's one person, one leader left, and something like that. And this person takes on the team's role to try and recruit and buffer up. So I think that situation is a bit circumstantial, but it's bad when this thing happens and prolongs for continues to happen like this.
Yeah, because a lot of times the individual, that executive, and here's another thing that they write is when the leader becomes the most reliable person in the room, the organization begins to route pressure through them. Over time, reliability shifts from asset to concentration of risk. And so a lot of times that buffer becomes the steadiness of the team. That person is there when everyone, it provides a steady ship. But yet at the same time, if you become overly dependent on that person, problems remain unaddressed. Accountability issues starts creeping up some of those things. Surface problems that were initially there, you start seeing some of those issues behind them.
Exactly. And a very typical signal that this person's a buffer is when people ask, hey, so how do we handle the situation? Oh, go check with Tommy, and then the other person says, hey, what's the decision on this one? Check with Tommy. And that's how it happens.
And that person, especially during leadership transition, Gordon, we've all been there. That person knows every single detail of the product. That person knows everything going on with the project. They know who to talk to in legal, in sales, all of the, they just know everyone. But then you're risking that because you're depending so much on that person.
Yes, and from the leader's point of view, I'm just trying to keep the boat afloat. So
Yeah.
that's my responsibility.
What about the other one? We talked about buffer. What about the fixer?
This is when things are. kind of complex, and the problems cropping up everywhere. And so here you have a troubleshooter, and he goes fix everything. Whenever there's a trouble somewhere, they call on this person to fix it.
Yeah. I would probably say a lot of times we've had this person. If there is between all of the roles, that's the role I always played, the fixer. I will always in the different, especially when I built cell towers, I always had a boss who would just say, "Tommy, I just need you to go figure out this problem," and I could see that I was always the fixer.
Yeah, no. So, as I was reading this article, the buffer and the fixer, immediately two roles from my Clifton Strength comes up, and the first one, the buffer, for example, is the guy with a responsibility trait, and the fixer is the guy with a restorative trait. And what this fixer does is he really sees problems. He can
Mhm.
see the problem, and he almost sees the solution. The only problem is that he takes on the responsibility to do it.
Yeah. If you've ever worked with a fixer before, that person is your safety net. That person you could know. You know when the problem is arising. I totally understand it's risky because you have to make sure everyone is ownership of it. But you know, if there's a person, I just need to call that person in to really be able to solve all the problems. But what happens if that person leaves? What happens if that person, something happens to he or him with the sickness? There's a lot of risk associated with that.
Yeah, so also I was in JP Morgan and doing private equity sales, and we always talk about a key man risk, and these two roles are typically key man risks.
The third one is one that I'm not very familiar with. Translator, what does that one mean?
So I took it took me a time some while to try and figure this one out. I assume that this role is one where the leader knows exactly where the organization is going, where it's headed, the direction of it, and this person's job or over reliance on is to try and bring people into alignment with this direction itself.
Yeah.
And so whenever the things are going like, okay, so what do we do next? And this person just appears and
Yeah.
say, okay, I think we need to bring these people back here and this direction. I think that's what a translator is, to translate the vision of the organization to the people.
Because so many times within an organization, you have a lot of visionaries. And when you have an organization or a company that has too many visionaries, you just need some people to do the work. And so a lot of times, going with what you're saying, that translator is something that says, okay, I understand what you guys are trying to say. Here's what we have to do next. Here's what we're going to do next. Trying to find that person is so key. And when you find that person does save the organization a lot because they're able to translate the vision into actionable steps that gets the work done.
Exactly. Or sometimes this translator is a guy who brings focus to the people around an organization. For example, people are going tangential about, oh, we should do this project, we should do that. And this translator comes and say, no, our vision or our role as an organization is this way. And so he becomes a translator.
Yeah. So how do you break the cycle then as well too? Let me with our short time left, there's a couple of things to break the cycle. First one, stop buffering your team and reflect the system back. What does that mean?
I like the term they use here, umbrella managers. Sometimes managers get to do too many things. So they're well intentioned. These are well intentioned leaders who basically smooth over conflict, soften criticisms, downplay confusion. But that umbrella-ness, I think it's probably what we're trying to, I wouldn't say dismantle, de-emphasize perhaps.
Got it, got it, got it. Let me ask you a quick question, and I'm trying to figure out as I'm reading this. Is there an example that comes to mind when you think about the system, this umbrella
Yeah,
system?
I always think that founders of businesses tend to fall into this trap because they've got the vision, they've got the operational thoughts, they know the organizational structure, they know the inside and out, and so they become the kind of like the bottleneck for the organization.
Got it, got it, got it. Second one, stop fixing everything and build capacity.
Ah, yes, and I think this is where I learned a new word when I was in JP Morgan, and that's the depth of your bench, your leadership bench. So if your leadership bench does not have depth, then you become the point person and you become the bottleneck. But as you build out the bench of leadership, more and more leaders who understand you, who is capable, and so you start to build capacity out that way. I feel that's the way to kind of stop fixing everything and build capacity.
For instance, I tend to be the fixer in our organization. And as a fixer, I'll work on accounting, I'll work on legal, I'll work on project management, I'll work on donations, all of those things. And so as the organization gets bigger, there's still a temptation for me to own everything and do everything. I don't build capacity. And so that's an area that I need to, I got to let go and continue to build capacity, even though it doesn't get done the way I wanted to. Am I building capacity versus, you know what? I have always done accounting. Let me work on that because I know what to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the trap. I know what to do, and I do it best. And in order to get someone to do it for me, it takes time, it takes effort, and it's really troublesome sometimes.
Yeah. Which leads to the third one, stop translating everything and clarify what's yours.
Yeah, this is a good one, I think, because I think, and this is where I use it in coaching. I would usually ask the person, "What's your role?" And then the person will find it difficult to describe their person's role in that organization, and then ask the next question, which is, "What's your responsibility for this role?" And I think being able to clarify that helps a lot. Um, you know, some people know this role and have the vision of this role for the organization, and having to translate that is difficult.
Well, some of the questions that they ask is that my problem to solve? Do I
Mm,
need to solve it alone? And
mhm.
if not, whose problem is it? Have I made that explicit?
Yes, and I think that's really having clarity and being able to help people see how they're connected and what's their responsibility.
Yeah, very good. Last one, seen differently to lead differently.
This one I'm not so sure. Yeah, I get it cognitively, but it's really difficult to try and understand it more feeling wise.
Yeah. Or I think a lot of times what I saw that with that one is seen differently to lead differently. How you lead and how you just see different people. You want stability, you want the same thing, and you want your problem solved. But it's seen differently that, hey, look, even though it's a problem, I have to diversify my bench. Even though it's a
Mhm.
problem, I have to make changes. I can't do the same thing that way. You got to see differently in order to really make the effective changes you need.
Yes, I guess so. And that's the delegation bit, the ability to trust someone else, and the ability to collaborate and cooperate with people.
And this contradicts a lot of times, and I'm saying this as Asian, don't mess it with it if it's not broken, right? And too often we're sitting there, okay, everything's going well. I don't need to make any changes. And until it finally breaks, I'm not going to make any changes. But you'll never grow because you're stuck doing the same thing.
Yes, and then you don't develop someone else to take over yours. I mean, you don't have a succession plan, in other words.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, any last thoughts as we wrap up on this one today? When being the most reliable person becomes a liability. Any final thoughts?
No, but I thought this is such an interesting thought article that I really need to keep thinking about this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times as you and I chatted, it's a different way of seeing things. Even though a lot of times I love the same thing, Gordon. I love working with the
Mhm.
same people, but you will sit there and you'll never grow if you don't think and explore different ways of doing things.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think this article is interesting.
Yeah. Any last thoughts? It's 15th day of Chinese New Year. Any last thoughts for you?
No, so yeah, I hope you have a great week ahead and get some rest because you've been traveling a lot.
I am home for the next couple weeks. I do not have to go anywhere. Philadelphia, I'm going next week for 2 days. I'm good to be home.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
All right. Talk soon, Gordon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.